If you're serious about starting or developing your online e-commerce business, this episode will benefit you. I will share with you my advice as an entrepreneur who just spent the whole week exploring different markets of Yiwu. This is also my first time visiting Yiwu. I've done lots of pre-research, so I think this information will be very valuable to the other first-comers as well. My first piece of advice is to be very clear about your purpose or goal when visiting, because this city itself is a big marketplace. You can find so many different markets for specialized products across the city. Without the clear purpose in your mind, you will be lost. It sounds quite simple, but it requires lots of pre-research and strategic thinking to achieve this goal. You want to be very honest and clear about your time. Do you just want to explore the markets, find the good suppliers, or order some stuff? For the last two purposes, it's better that you have a list with you, including what kind of products you are looking for, how many SKUs you want to have, what's the price and budget, these kind of things. Without this list, it's very easy to spend beyond your budget. It's District 1. It's a very busy district. It's about accessories, the hair fashion, and you can see them packing and delivering all the time. Wow. The second piece of advice is to download an app called Yiwu. This app is very useful for me. I can just browse in the app on my sofa in the hotel room and find the best place to go without wasting any time. I'm gonna show you exactly how it's working. This is how the app looks. It's like the Alibaba.com for the local merchants and suppliers in Yiwu and the cities around. At the top left corner, you can switch the language from Chinese to English. And the best way to utilize this app is to search for the products you are looking for and go straight to the page about the sellers or the factories, and then take a note on the location and contact info, and then go straight to the certain floor in a certain market and meet that seller in person. And for most of the time, you will find some very similar sellers or merchants just next to the one you found online. And then it's your time to compare the price and the quality and spend your limited energy and efforts negotiating for the best deal for you. It's actually quite efficient. I've already found the first supplier who's willing to manufacture the products for me, as long as I send the sample to him to study the details of the design. And yeah, it's time for some lunch. When I was working in the market, I noticed a very interesting phenomenon, which is that most of the sellers actually speak English fluently. This brings us to the next topic, which is, do you really need to hire a local export agent or not? In my opinion, if you're just looking for a local export agent because you want to have a translator, or you don't know where to find the right suppliers or merchants, then I've already shared you how to do that. You don't necessarily need a local export agent for these two purposes. But if you're looking for someone who can act on behalf of you to make sure that all of your orders will be operated smoothly, or you want to find someone who can do additional sourcing for you for your additional demand spontaneously, then definitely the local export agent is the best option. My next piece of advice is to be open and as local as possible. What I've noticed is that lots of foreign businessmen and businesswomen are always centralized in particular markets, restaurants, or hotels. I call it the foreigner bubble. I've seen this a lot before when I was working or studying abroad. I'm not saying that it's completely wrong, but it's not beneficial for you if you want to get extra information. I think this happened because some of them really rely on the local export agent, and they will only go to where the export agent recommends. This leads to the barriers of information. I know there are lots of good wholesale markets which are not in the international trade city. I barely see foreign businessmen and businesswomen there. So my advice is to be brave. Yiwu is already much more international and open compared to some other Chinese cities at the same size. So why don't you give yourself a chance to get the first-hand experience and knowledge about the local markets and suppliers? This can be your competitive edge in the future. And most likely you will find some very unique goods supplies or even more competitive pricing when you walk out of the foreign bubble and reach more people locally. My last piece of advice is to check the event schedule of the Yiwu International Expo Center. This can be very helpful when you are planning your visit to Yiwu. In May, there are electronic appliances event. In June, they have international e-commerce event, and in October or November, they have the forest products event. If you visit Yiwu during this period of time, you are not just looking for the suppliers of goods within the wholesale market. You can also go to the expo event and find what's going on within this industry across China and world, and speak to the factories and institutions face to face. And this can be your competitive edge as well. If you are not limited to a certain time of visiting, why don't you plan your next visit according to the event schedule? For most of these kind of events, it's completely free to enter. You just need to sign up in advance, and then you'll be able to speak to thousands of different vendors and factories and research institutions. It's such a big chance to develop your own competitive edge compared to the other business owners who are just in their home countries. Okay, so these are all the advice I have. So far, I've shared all my advice to you as an entrepreneur who visit Yiwu for the first time. I found what I was looking for, and I hope you can have a good outcome from your visit to Yiwu as well. See you next time.